Hello, everyone. How are you today? I hope everybody is doing great. Let me know how my audio is. Can everybody hear me all right? I hope everyone has been having a fantastic weekend so far. Where I live right now, I apologize if you hear any outdoor sounds. It is just abnormally warm where I live this time of the year, and I live towards the north, and it's November, and yet, thank you so much for the follow, Noble Genobi. Awesome. Okay. But yeah, it's abnormally warm, so I had to open a window. I have the ceiling fan in my room up on high as it can go, and it still feels a little warm, so I also have my handy dandy nice big glass of water too. But yeah, I hope everybody has been having a fantastic weekend. Hopefully enjoying the weather wherever you are. I hope the weather is good. If not, I hope it gets better. Hello, Dedza. How are you? And hello, Tuna. Thank you for the head pats. I really appreciate it. Oh, thank you for the follow, Rage Reading. And I always apologize ahead of time if I mispronounce anybody's names. Oh, thank you for the head pads. I love head pads. So if you notice on the screen, we have a little guest with us. Not so little. But this is a Fisher Fruity. Is that correct? Fruity Snacks. Okay, Fruity Snacks. Fruity Snacks here is the curator of an amazing venue in-game in Final Fantasy XIV. It's called the Eorzean Aquarium. And do you want to give us like a little description about the Eorzean Aquarium and what it's all about? And yes, go ahead. No, please, go ahead. Okay, that is actually amazing. And it sounds like that they said the volume was a little low. I've boosted your volume about as much as I think I can make it go. Oh no, you're very loud. You are very loud. Okay, actually, let me try this. Okay, how's that? Is that better? Okay, let me see what I can do. Half of streaming is being able to troubleshoot audio, it feels like most of the time.
I mean, if Square Enix has to deal with it.
Okay, now you can't hear him at all. Okay, there he is. Everybody hear him loud and clear?
Don't know.
Testing.
Oh, wait, yep.
Okay, he can be heard.
That's... Scared myself with my own voice. Now you might want to turn me down just a smidgen.
Okay, now I'm going to turn you down. Which is great, because now I'm not going to go deaf. Okay, and again, super loud now. This is live streaming, everyone. Live streaming at its finest. And okay, once again, with feeling, tell us about the Eorzean Aquarium, and let's hear it like really perky.
Okay, the Eorzean Aquarium is a small house on Marlborough, which holds, at last count, 180 plus unique fish. We have every aquarium fish in the game on display in a single small house. And a lot of people are like, how do you manage to do that? Because a small house can only hold 6 fish tanks. And that is because we have 25 private rooms, each individually and uniquely designed around different regions that holds 4 tanks each. So that's 100 fish tanks plus 6 in the lobby. So we have 106 fish tanks inside of a small house.
That is a lot of fish tanks, and especially inside of a small house. I came by here earlier, and I'm like, from the screenshots, like, alone, it's like, I know that you guys have a lot. I was like, how did you fit it in here? I want to see this marvel of housing engineering just for that alone.
It started as a offhand comment that I made.
Mm-hmm.
I had been wanting to make a fishing themed venue for people, and I made this offhand comment in the Fish Cord, which is like the big central community for EN fishers in Final Fantasy XIV. And I made this offhand comment in the Crystal DC channel saying, hey, you know, one could get around the tank limits by using private rooms. And before I could finish that, there was like 10 people going, that's a great idea. I don't even know where we starting.
It's like you mentioned this idea. You are now the leader of it. So you tell us how we're going to do it.
I lovingly like to say that I was bullied into creating this. And eventually, I think that was like in April 4th, I believe. And then on May 1st, we opened. So it only took 28 days to get the initial opening. And that was 22 rooms. So it was about 20 people at the start.
Okay. That's impressive. Also, thank you, Svarte Mod, for the donation to Rise Above the Disorder. Thank you so much. For any of those who are new to the stream, we are a all-the-time charity stream. We raise money for charity every day. I do not personally accept any types of tips or donations. Everything goes all to whatever our chosen charity for that period is. Right now, it is Rise Above the Disorder. They do a lot of work helping to connect those who are in need of mental health care with helping them find a therapist. It also helps those who are in financial need get the money to help pay for therapy, pay for prescriptions, and also sometimes even arrange travel. So just my quick charity blurb there. We have a question from chat, asked if you also fish IRL.
I do. I actually just started, though, in March, right before the season opened up here around where I lived. I've been wanting to for a while, and then I kind of just was like, I'm an adult, I can do this, and did. So I've been fishing for 8 months now.
Okay.
I try and go out at least once a week.
Wow, once a week. That's impressive.
Mostly, and because and usually the follow-up question is, what do you usually catch? And the answer is whatever I can, because I'm not very good. And usually freshwater fish. I'm near a shore, but it's a bit too far to make it like a day trip. So I usually just fish in the rivers and lakes around me. Yeah. Freshwater rivers and lakes.
So do you fish for the idea of actually catching fish, or is it more of being out with nature, fresh air, all of that?
A little bit of both, but also a lot of it was I was just curious. I'm kind of was like, I wonder what like where the fish are for the most part, because like you'll see a river and you're like, there's totally fish in that, and you'd be surprised how often there isn't. But like I've also gone through, just last week there was a lake nearby that my wife and I were walking around, and there's like these big puddles. I say puddles, but they're more like small ponds around this lake. And so I like fishing in those places because I don't know if I'm going to catch anything, but if I do, I learn something. And that I absolutely love, kind of being able to explore and discover what my area has in nature.
Nice. So I know that, and not to try to get too far off the Eorzean Aquarium, we will come back to that, I promise. I know that you also have a YouTube channel, and you have what seems like dozens of tutorials on how to catch pretty much every fish that there is in game. I watched some of them. They're really impressive. I love how you have them arranged. So tell me a little bit about that. What started that going?
So in the fish cord, we had a lot of questions coming in about how do I catch X fish? Usually it's a really difficult or rare fish. Like, am I doing something wrong? Am I doing something right? How does the mechanic work? It was just a lot of common questions that were coming up, and we were always just typing it out or linking back to stuff. I'm like, you know what? I know how to edit a video. Let's just put it on a YouTube channel. So I made a quick proof of concept. I showed it to the fish cord. I'm like, this is what I can do. What do you guys think? They're like, this is great. And I just started making them. And I've been doing that for a little over 2 years now. And I just passed my 100th guide about a month or two ago for Final Fantasy XIV fishing specifically.
Wow, 100 guides.
So if you have a question about how to catch a specific fish in Final Fantasy XIV, there is most likely going to be a guide for it that I have written and made up on my channel. And if there isn't, please let me know.
That is amazing. Yeah, and definitely check them out, the videos. And I have probably abnormally high standards for what makes a good tutorial video, in my opinion. And I have to say that the tutorial videos that Fruity Snacks has done are really great. They're incredible. So I highly recommend that you check those out. I watched it and I barely have touched fishing, and I was thinking, like, even I can do this now. I can follow these instructions and find these fish. And yeah, so I'm gonna definitely check those out and get my fishing game up. So with the Eorzean Aquarium, I love the origin story as far as how you essentially, like you said, got bullied into opening this. How long has the Eorzean Aquarium been open now?
It will have been open 6 months on November 1st. So 6 months plus 11 days.
Okay. Wow.
195 days, I believe, actually. I think is the exact.
Okay. I knew
I just happened to look that up this morning. I don't know that off the top of my head. I had to look it up to see how many days it was since May 1st, but it was 195.
Okay. Preparing for the stream, of course. Very good.
100%.
Yep. I know shortly after it opened, it seemed like that there was a huge positive response to it. I saw things like everywhere on Twitter. There was articles about it. How was that?
Well, when we opened, we were actually originally expecting to open about a week or two later. And what happened was I offhand made a lot of the Eorzean Aquarium origin stories should just be prefaced with it was made by an offhand comment by Fruity. Because I wasn't very serious about these, and people were like, that's a great idea, let's do it. So what I ended up doing was I posted a picture of the room directory. And I said, have you ever seen a house with every fish in the game? And that tweet took off. I mean, 1,000 within a few hours, 1,000 likes within a few hours. It was all over. I'm like, all right, maybe we should ride this wave. And so I quickly made the trailer that you see that you would have seen at the initial launch. And it kind of just took off again from there, and we opened up that night, and we were kind of expecting, maybe like 50 people. Like a generous amount of people would come in for the first night, and we'd be like, cool, and then we'd move on with our daily lives. We had no idea that it would become at least I didn't have a expectation or plan that it would become such a big part of what I was doing in 14. And that first night, the 50 people that we were expecting all showed up within about the first minute. And we estimate that within the first 24 hours, there's at least 1,000 people had come through the whole venue.
1,000 people. That
1,000.
is
by
overwhelming almost.
By our rough estimates, which it's really hard to measure exactly how many people have come through, because some people bring alts, some people come multiple times, but we use it based on the likes in the rooms, because every room has a message book, and I'll show you why when we get in. And people leave likes on it, and we kind of were like, all right, an estimate of like between maybe 5 to 20 likes per person. And so to date, we're estimating roughly 6,000 people in 6 months have come through. We averaged like 512 likes a day.
Okay.
So
that's pretty good.
So when you figure that most play that the game caps you out at 50, you can kind of do the math on that one. So it became a lot bigger than we were expecting.
Okay. Now, are you planning? I see that you also have aquariums on the one of the EU servers and also the JP servers. How have those been doing? They've
been great. The EU aquarium launched in August. It is a full-fledged aquarium, much similar to this one on Spriggan, and it got a very, very similar response. Extremely positive, tons of people coming through, and the Eorzean Aquarium hasn't actually opened yet. It's still being developed, and it's going to be a little bit different than Crystal and Spriggan. It's going to be what we call a discovery center, and it'll be a smaller venue of about. I think it's. I don't know the exact number because I think it keeps changing. But the person working on that is estimating like 9 to 10 exhibits. It's kind of like the popular exhibits from both of the aquariums will get kind of moved over there, and they'll use it as a basis for growing and help establishing the Oceania community.
Okay.
Because that's still getting really established, and they really want to see the Oceania community thrive and grow, and so they're going to use that as the foundation of their efforts to really kind of build out the Oceania community.
Okay, I have another question, but before that, we have a question from chat was asking where they can find the EU one. They want to head over there right now to go check it out.
The EU, which we call the aquarium, Eorzean Aquarium Spriggan. Spriggan is on Spriggan. It is plot 34, ward 20 in the Goblet on Spriggan, which is on Chaos.
Okay, I typed that out in chat. So whoever is in EU, encourage you to go over there and check that out right now. Sounds like it will be a great time. I'm going to have to make an alt there now just to check it out and see what the differences are.
Yes, all of the venues we make are alt friendly, so that anything that I lead or is kind of under my umbrella will start in a starter zone. So like a level 2 can just run to it. You don't have to worry about taxiing or teleporting to like Shiro or Imperium.
Okay, awesome. Hold on one moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. It seems like one of my bots is misbehaving.
Oh no.
Oh my goodness. Like I have struggled with bots so much. So it feels like the whole, to use a good metaphor for the context of what we're doing today, I feel like one of those, ocean fishers. I'm trying to fight with the big catch and it just keeps on getting away from me, laughing at me. But one day, I'll get a handle on it. So, all right. I find it really interesting. Like you were talking about how the Oceania one is really going to be part of helping to build the community there. And I think that's really incredible. I love how, I think one thing that a lot of people have always said about 14 is that there's a lot of community. It's not even just the larger community, it's all of the other different sub-communities. You have, fishing, you have people who still do Eureka, you have people who do Palace of the Dead, and there's communities for each one of those things. So how have you found building a community around this project, both in EU and, of course, North America? What kind of results have you gotten from that? Has it spawned additional kinds of activities, ideas for other projects?
So it has been extremely positive. We kind of fell into this position with venues in 14 where a lot of people have started to get tired of I'm trying to figure out how to say this without sounding like really mean, but really a lot of people have gotten tired of just seeing like, casinos and all those types of spam in chat, like those types of advertisements in chat, and those dominating the party finder, especially on Crystal. And so when we came out, we were like, hey, here's an aquarium. And people are like, is it a club? No, it's not a club. It is just an aquarium. It is what it says on the box. And people really latched onto that. And they really loved that. And a lot of people have started making their own general venues and showing like, hey, they're like houses can be used for more than just clubs, more than just casinos, more than just, designer homes. They can have they can provide back to the community. We've always seen our aquarium builds and any build that we really have as a resource. Originally, we built this as we'll just bill it to the housing community and they'll be able to come and see all of the fish for their builds and they can be like, just pick what they want. And at one point, we were considering setting up a shop where they could come and buy it. And in the end, it kind of just became this. I don't want to say shining beacon because I feel like that puts it a little bit higher than I think it is. But it really has shown other people like, hey, you can make housing projects and you can use these houses for good per se, rather than anything else. So a lot of people have really latched onto that. And we've started seeing a lot more people making those museum type venues, making really like general what they call general venues. And that's about it. I think that on top of this aquarium and on top of the 3 aquariums, so Crystal, Spriggan, and Sophia, which is one on Oceania, we have a fish print museum, which is going to hold every fish print in the game. So that's going to be 1,400 picture frames in a large house, which will be built in a similar way as this one. And then there has been early developments on a fine art museum, an archaeology museum, textile museum, a botany museum. Like all these different museums now are coming in and being like, all right, I can make this, people want it, and it'll be fun. And so now there's just a community of people who like making museum housing projects.
Yeah, now I can imagine, I'm not going to lie, one of the things that keeps on popping into my head was that one movie, Night at the Museum, with the Museum of Natural History and how everything kind of comes alive. And, in the back of my head, I'm like, I want to see that. I want to see somebody do that too.
Yeah, no, that's something that is actually like the event entitled Night at the Museums, where we would take all these different museums and have an event across all of them, has been discussed. Like that's something that I would love to hopefully see, but we don't have the infrastructure for that yet.
When you do, I'm there for it. And I will try to bring everyone I can because that sounds super exciting. So, well, let's go ahead and get started with looking inside. My expectations have been built up. Hey, Zen. Welcome.
I hope we can deliver.
I really think that you will. The website made it look fantastic. Everything that you told me so far has been wonderful. So let's go take a look. And I am going to RP walk because I don't want to go through this too fast.
Oh, you can spend a lot of time here, so come on in and we'll get you started. So starting off, our front yard, it's pretty much your standard front yard. But the one notable thing is this plot. And this plot was offered to us from a mutual friend of the aquarium. They were like, I have the spare FC. on Marlboro. I don't need it. Do you want this house? I'm like, yeah, sure. And we were kind of hesitant at the time because, being a fish room, we wanted something maybe in the mist. But then we came and realized that you can actually fish off this plot. This is probably the most fishable plot in Lavender Beds, if not all of the housing districts.
Okay.
And so we were like, it's perfect. And so we set it up. So off the deck in front of us, you can fish into the Lavender Beds fishing hole.
So right over here.
And basically anywhere off the edge of this plot, you can fish.
I made sure to come on Fisher for this. Okay, wait. I don't have bait specified. That would probably be helpful.
Yep. And the notable fish in this is sweet newt, which can desynth into I think it's water. I always get them confused because there's like 6 cotton cloths, but I believe it's waterproof cotton cloth used to make some swimwear. So you can totally fish here. You have a nice view of the waterfall as you go through, and so
nice.
Made sure to kind of glitch this deck up so that it kind of looked like a proper fishing deck, even though you can't really walk across most of it.
And this is such a nice fishing spot too, because you have the waterfall, and especially at night, this is so atmospheric.
Yep. So it ended up being like the perfect spot, and so we're like, perfect, we'll take it. And that night we moved in and started getting alts into the FC, and we ended up with, I think we probably had about half the alts set up, and then within the first week all the alts were in the FC getting built, and it, like I said, it took 28 days to put this whole thing together.
I bet those 28 days were very busy too.
Oh god, it was so stressful.
And then you opened 2 weeks early.
And then people were like, all right, I'm ready for my room. I'm like, I haven't designed your room yet.
But I'm ready now.
So, so this is our lobby. We renovated it during the DC, when DC travel opened up back in July, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So right around July, we did a big renovation and kind of refresh over the whole thing. Start in the basement. So that's the basement is usually where most people start, and so that's where we put the newest fish. Every major patch releases new aquarium fish, and we really wanted to show those off and basically get them into the aquarium as quickly as we can. So we put them in the basement here where they get a nice big front center stage, and people can immediately enjoy them. And I think I had these all, I went and fished these up myself like within patch, like on patch day, and it took 6 hours, I think, before, so that it was all updated. And it also doubles as the fact that we don't have to make a room for them immediately if required. So it buys us about a whole patch cycle worth to whir up a new alt if we need it.
Okay. That is very smart. And it looks like you even have like a little podium over here. So if you want to do, I guess, like a talk about the fishes.
Yep. So, yep, we've hosted events. I think we've hosted, our first event was end of June, and we just had our last one of the year last night. And we've had one every month since then. So 6 events.
Okay.
5 or 6 events, I forget. But yeah, so we use the aquarium not just as like a place to hold and show off fish, but we use it as like a community center for people to come and use it. If people want to come and do a tour, or they want to travel with their FC and do like a field trip, they're welcome to come at any time because we're always open. You don't need anybody here. It's free. If anyone asks for money as you go in, just ignore them. So these are all the new fish from patch 6.2. We have some notable fish. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a big blue fish, or a medium-sized blue fish with a big blue fin. That is from Ultima Thule, and that is one of the first plecos that we actually ever could put into an aquarium. So this patch brought a lot of new species that we could a lot of new species that we can put into aquariums. So we have the pleco, which is the blue one. The poor fish that looks like it got bonked on the head, that's a flower horn. That is the first species of flower horn that we can put into aquarium. The big guy on the right, that's junkmonger. We're still trying to decide if it's an angler fish or a goose fish, or another type of fish, but it is the first of its species that we're able to put into it regardless. And then sneaking on the bottom here of the lower left aquarium is the spotted flatfish way at the bottom. That is the first skate.
Yeah, wow, I almost didn't see it.
That is the ethereal-electric guitar fish. Can be caught in Scholars Harbor in Charlotte.
Ethereal-electric guitar fish.
Yeah, it's an electric guitar fish.
All right. Does it play electric guitar?
So I forget what its lore actually is, but it does make a note of it. All these fish have stories tied to them, like we call it fish lore for the most part, and so they all have a fun story tied to it, and some of those stories actually tie into real lore.
Okay, somebody's saying it's shaped like a guitar and it generates electricity.
Yes, and it is based on an actual fish too. That's the other thing that we'll point out is about 90. I don't have an exact number, but it is almost every fish in the game is based on some real life species of fish, either extinct or currently living, or somewhere in between.
So there's real learning to be done here. It's not just game lore.
Yep,
that's amazing.
And we will talk more about that in some of the later rooms, because that is something that we started to lean into, making that connection between real life and 14. So we'll head up in, and there's a lot of rooms, so we're not going to, for the sake of time, I have seen people go into the rooms in, at say 1 o'clock. I'll just pop on for lunch, see people come in, and then I'd get off work at 5:30, 6 o'clock, come out, and they are just coming out of the rooms. So we're going to try and move a little quick.
Okay. Wow.
So if you want to head into the private rooms, we'll start with the first room, which is mine. With all of the builds, we usually reserve the first space to whoever is the creator or the lead of it. So I was leading this, so I get the first room.
You have them labeled really clearly as far as exactly what's in there, too.
Yeah, we tried to make it as realistic to an actual aquarium as possible, so you knew what you were going to see. So for most of these, it'll be based on region. So the next few rooms will be the Lenosian rooms, and so each of the rooms are going to be detailed differently, but based around that region with music that matches it, and some of them have little Easter eggs tied to that, or not.
Okay, I have to turn on the music. I forgot to turn on the music.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
So, notable fish in this would be the Silver Sovereign to my right here.
Ooh.
It is it's a very old fish. It's basically a primordial wavekin that can go about to 3 alms or 3 yards. And it's in-game rather difficult to catch. In lore. A lot of fishers have a lot of issues bringing this fish up due to its size and weight. But notably, the Silver Sovereign is considered a big fish. It is a rare fish in game lore. It's considered what we would call a big fish. But it's not really that difficult. The Lenosians just need to get a little better at fishing, I guess.
Oh! They're in some shaded old Notions.
It is... the Warrior of Light as a fisher is able to bring up a 90-foot whale made of magma out of a volcano. So
I'm taking that fish in a later room.
That is a fish. Well, so we don't. So that's the issue. We only have aquatic fish because they don't have any other type of things. But I will highlight that one when we get to that room. Okay. That was in Dravania. Other notable fish, bombard fish here on my right, the spiky dude. It's named after bombards. And then on the left here is the flying fish with the wings. That's the navigator's brand, which is used in the Beast Brewer's Beacon quest line. Which catching one of you have to catch one of these to be able to get the ambitious angler title.
It's so pretty.
All right, so moving on. Go to room 2, which would be the next room of Noscea. On your left, you'll once again see Junkmonger, the fish that we're still trying to figure out what type of species it is. It's either, like I said, either a goosefish or an anglerfish. But the Junkmonger is a recent addition. As of 6.2, we had to shuffle a couple of fish around and remove some duplicates. And then in the back, we have Megalodon, which doesn't look as scary as it is made out to be.
I love how you design these rooms too. Like the little catcher vault here is great.
When I designed the rooms, I kind of just gave the person, here's the fish that are going in your room, here's your region, here's your budget, go. And they just all knocked it out of the park. They really went through. I was very hands off a lot of the design of these rooms. I gave feedback when it was needed, but I, for the most part, just kind of was hands off and was like, you do what you want, and because it's going to be your room. So make something that you're happy with, and I think that really paid off. The swordfish you're looking at here is the Maslalia marlin. It is used to craft a stuffed Maslalia marlin, and it is also the level 50 Fisher Job Quest fish that you have to catch.
Okay. Yeah, I like the swordfish. And you have some prints on the wall. There's the hammerhead shark, I'm guessing, right over there.
Yes, that one I believe specifically is either a hammerhead or I don't think that is Lone Ripper, which is a big fish, but also a hammerhead.
Somebody was asking if you have those tiny little black sea sharks.
Do they have the tiny little black sea sharks? No, they have not done. I think those are nerve sharks. They haven't done those yet. The smallest shark is in the Azim Steppe room, which we'll look at, but it is not any of those fish. All right, room 3. The fish of Noscea. Again, this will be the last Noscean room, technically. Themed around Costa del Sol. And some of the notable fish in here, to my left on your right, would be the big large bluefish. That is the coelacanth. That is based after a real life fish of the same name and was considered it's called a fossil fish. It is basically this missing link between land and sea creatures because it has fingers. Or at least things that look like fingers, and it kind of walks a little bit. There's a few fascinating documentaries on them, but I won't bore you with the super details on that. But for the most part, its skeletal structure and behavior is not really what you would typically see in a normal fish, but also not typically what you would see in a land creature. But if you took the two and combined them together and ignored amphibians, that's what you would get, is the coelacanth. And it was thought to be long extinct. But was actually caught in the late 1900s off the coast of a small island chain called Comoros in Africa. And fishers apparently had been bringing it up so much, and then a ichthyologist was like, holy crap, what's that? And then they realized what it was, and it was a big deal. And the last the other notable fish in here is Fred, the cutfish.
Fred.
Fred is the second, the one not the lowest, but the one above it. This poor guy lives a very isolated life in the mines of Noscea. It is said to look like the face of a Rogadin, which I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult.
But not wrong. Now that
but
you mention it.
yeah, so it's based off a real life blobfish.
And now he has friends.
Yes.
At least in this tank.
Yes. So the story goes that Fred the blobfish and the mirror scale are in a relationship. That is what I have been told, but yeah.
Not much else to say there.
Yeah, that's about it.
I have a question, actually. What is this fish over here?
See, I was hoping you wouldn't ask because I can't pronounce it.
Oh, no. I was like, this one looks so interesting. I need to know more.
So it's Diniicthus, and most notably, the in-game description is just that it is a legendary saltwater fish covered in thick armor and said to have once been worshipped by the Sahagin. It's also extremely ugly to some people, but not considered the ugliest fish in the entire aquarium, or let alone frightening. Okay.
I'm interested to see what those might be.
Yep, we will get there. And you will see, like, a lot of people, I'll say that, and I'll go, this is not the most frightening fish. And I'll be like, which one is it? I'm like, you'll know.
All right, then.
So moving on to Ocean Fishing Part 1. So the next two ocean fishing rooms, Part 1 and 2, were just recently renovated in the past couple of weeks.
Oh, so this is like a dock. This is nice.
Yes, so they renovated these rooms to be based on the ocean fishing ship itself.
Oh. Okay.
So you'll see in this all of the spectral fish. Here, there's spectral discus, the blue wide ones that look like a disc. Spectral megalodon. And then some other fish from the spectral current. The two in the top are tripod fish. And the bottom one is a fugu, known as a blowfish. But the star of this room is Stony Boy over here, that we call it, that is named Stone Scale. It is a fabled legend fish. It is the only fabled legend fish that you can put into an aquarium, mostly because it is the only one that is that size. The largest deep sea fish that you can catch is, there's technically two, but one of the easiest ones to get is Half-Goofa, which is the... Half-Goofa is an octopus kraken, and it is actually a child of the Hullbreaker Isle boss.
Okay.
But anyways, yes, he is in fact covered in stone. Scholars are still trying to figure that out. But he is in fact covered in stone, hence why he gets the name Stone Scale.
Okay, so scales just don't grow like that. That's actual stone that they somehow acquired, and the scholars are working on it. I can't wait to see that report.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. They're formerly known as rock fins, and that they just have this stony covering that envelops their whole body. And it's partially a defensive mechanism because no fish wants to eat stone.
Nah.
So I think there's even a note of him. I forgot the message books. So if you are ever at the aquarium and you are not with somebody who works there, or if you are, they will draw your attention to the message books, where you can leave likes, leave comments, but notably in the word from the owners, it will say all of the fish in that in that room, and it will give you a rough idea of where each one is. So you'll be able to figure it out yourself. If you are, not familiar with fishing, you can come in and find the names.
Don't make fun of his skin condition. He's sensitive. Oh.
Yeah.
Of course,
a lot of during the opening days, there was a lot of comments about it. Not necessarily negative, but it was like, it'd just be fun to mention that. Now, if you look to your right next to Sua before we head away, you'll see Deputy Berry Blast. And you'll also notice that Deputy Berry Blast is a very unique person in that he has a Namazu head. Throughout about 20 or so of these exhibits, we have hidden stuffed Namazu throughout the entire aquarium.
Oh my god.
So if you're ever here and you want to really challenge yourself, go through all the exhibits and see if you can find all of the hidden Namazu. And if you were here when we did it, when we originally hid them for the DC travel event, we moved them. So good luck again. All right, room 5. This is Ocean Fishing Room 2. This is another of the recently renovated rooms.
With the boss.
Yes. Major General is in charge of this room. You'll see some extra... Sorry about that. You'll see some more spectral fish here on the left. So with the spectral bass, kind of akin to a Swedish fish, and a spectral butterfly, which is the bright blue fish in the upper level there. Along with another wrasse, which is a species of fish. If you actually Google wrasse, which is spelled W-R-A-S-S-E, you will see that they all are really denoted by that large protruding forehead. And then finally, the last two here, a lot of these early rooms have a ton of highlights. But the last two fish on the side is the Mola Mola, or Helmsman Hand is the name of the fish, but a lot of people see it as the Momora Mora. And on the right is our beloved Pog Shark, which has kind of become the unofficial mascot of the aquarium. We didn't expect this, but first day we opened up, the book was just filled with the word Pog over and over again, like Pog Shark. And so,
I can see it, yeah.
So it is Pog Shark. We've also taken to the name Kirby. And yeah, so we have Kirby the Pog Shark. It is based on a funnel shark. And we just like to kind of leave little food bits in its mouth.
Yeah, chat was like the hamburger.
I believe that is going to change every so often. That we have a variety of different things in this aquarium that will occasionally get moved around and changed and swapped out.
Gives people a reason to come back regularly.
Yeah. So, moving on to room 6. Fish of Thanalan. Give me 1 second to grab a drink of water.
Oh, sure. Take your time. Thank you. I notice we have all of the goldfish here. Of course, Ulda has goldfish. Lots of goldfish.
Yeah, so on the bottom there you have, I believe that's actually specifically a copperfish. But the copper, silver, gold, and platinum fish are all different fish that you can fish up. Many of which can be found in Ulda and like the Thanalanian region. But their lore is that the Ulda nobles would collect them as a sign of wealth because many people actually found their sheen better than that of coin.
Oh.
So they would collect copper and I think goldfish, notably. One of which actually lost its value, which is kind of wild that there was like a market for goldfish and it crashed because of overbreeding.
I mean, it's Ulda.
Yeah. And then we just have the Titanic sawfish on the left, which is a shark that can be caught in Thanalan. There are not many when you think of a desert, you don't think of, large fish, let alone fish to begin with. But we have tons of fish in Thanalan. Just not many that can be put into an aquarium.
Yeah, somebody in chat was saying fish that aren't tankable are usually on the canvases on the walls.
Yep.
Thanalan has a bunch because of dune fishing. Okay.
Yeah, so it looks like magic carpet. This would be magic carpet. This is Ogoi Kuroki, which we will see a similar fish to this later. I believe this would be Heliocoprion, which is a legendary fish caught in the Sigoli Desert, and then Nadeki, which is caught in Moondrip, north of Horizon.
Okay, and those are up high.
Yes, so we definitely don't skimp on the decorations. It's not like we really follow the eyesight. We really were limited, and we'll move on to room 7 here. We were really limited on our space by using exhibits, or by using private rooms for the exhibits. So we really try and cram as much detail as we can into these rooms with the 100 slots that were allowed. So this is Fish of the Shroud, which is kind of the opposite of Thanalan. You would expect a lot of aquarium fish coming out of the Shroud, but there's only enough for one room. But there's a lot of really fun fish. We have rain collars, which are these blue trout-looking fish here in the aquarium. These are used in fishing quests. You can catch these in Gridania whenever it rains, hence the name. And then the big chunky guy behind us is the giant Takitaro, which is a fish that is beloathed by many people for being a rare bite and slippery on top of that, but it is required to catch a giant Takitaro to get the fisher's intuition buff to catch Namitaro, which is used for the Feast of Famine questline.
It is beautiful. Everything I've seen so far is absolutely breathtaking.
And you can see a stuffed one right above the doorway.
Oh.
There was a lesson to be learned.
A lesson to be. This is what happens to unruly fish in this aquarium.
Yep. All right, so we are going to move into room 8, and these will be the last of the. We'll be transitioning out of A Realm Reborn and into Heaven's Ward zones.
Oh, somebody saw Namazu.
Yep. So, Fish of Mor Dhona. Mor Dhona is unique in its waters, and that is due to the Battle of Silver Tear Lake, unlocking and unleashing so much etheric energy into the region. A lot of fish have adapted around that or have gained weird and special properties and size. This guy right in front of us is I have to remember. Yep. The big guy, the red one is Blood Red Bony Tongue. Based on a arowana, which is a real life fish that actually has that tongue in the front.
Okay. Yeah, I see it. It's interesting. Thank you for the stools, by the way.
Yes, so the stools, we originally didn't have them, and then we had a lot of Lalafels come in and say, hey, can you add stools so I don't have to jump? And we're like, that's a great idea. And so we've added stools to almost every room, and have made sure that they were in all of the rooms at the aquarium on Spriggan. Alright, so moving on to room 9. So now we're starting to move into the Sea of Clouds. and as is law area, so we're starting to move into the Heaven's Ward areas. We kind of ordered these rooms based on the region of appearance, but being as Abalathia's Spine and as is law are, even though they're like kind of at the start and kind of at the end of Heaven's Ward, but they're technically both in Abalathia's Spine, we kept them together. So we have the Euphorotic Parakuku. A lot of these names I've never had to pronounce verbally.
It's okay. Take your time.
But this Parakuku is one of the few freshwater fish in Az's Law. Az's Law is, maybe unsurprisingly, full of aether chemical spots.
Okay, yeah. It's like a really pretty, like, jade green color, too.
Yep, and this is based on real-life Arapaimas, which you will actually see in rivers in, I believe, the tropics. So that is the only. That is also the only aquarium fish from Az's Law. So the rest of these are from Sea of Clouds. And it wouldn't be the Sea of Clouds if you turn your attention to the table. It wouldn't be a Sea of Clouds if we didn't mention Bismarck, which we can't put into an aquarium because he's too big and we kind of killed him.
Sandwich.
So we have the sandwich known as the Bismarck.
Oh my goodness. That is exceptional. So what kind of sandwich is the Bismarck, by the way?
That's a good question. I don't actually know if the game tells us. Really good enough to get named after the restaurant in Noscea. And that large fish is the Banu head.
Okay.
Specifically, the large goldfish is a Banu head. That's just a pie killer. Alright, so now that we've moved out of Abalathia's Spine, we're going to move into kind of like the meat of Heaven's Ward, which would be Dravania. So, this is going to be mostly focused around Sea of Clouds and Dravanian regions, so hinterlands, forelands. See another arowana. This is not the blood red bony tongue, though. A lot of fish in this game will share models, but have different sizes. The fish that I like to point out in the two fish that I like to point out in this room are in this tank. The first one is the little red guy at the bottom.
Yeah, I was noticing him.
And what's special about the little guy? It's
kind of looks like he's upside down.
He's upside down.
Yeah.
This is, believe it or not, based on a real life fish. The upside down catfish. This guy is named the Dravanian Squeaker.
Okay.
And much like his real life counterpart, people have not been able to figure out why they swim upside down.
It took me a minute, to be honest. I was like, I think it's upside down. And I was even turning my head a little bit.
Nope, it is upside down. Dravanian Squeaker is one of my favorite fish. One of my favorite aquarium fish. And it is absolutely adorable, and it's a big guest favorite. The one guy above him it has a very interesting head because it's wearing a skull. This fish,
mask,
this fish will wear skulls mostly as a defensive mechanism. And it is called the Dragon Head, and aptly named. But the Dragon Head is one of the many varieties of Eorzean fish that wear skulls of small animals that fell into the water, and it's not really meant to scare away predators, so it's not like a fear defense mechanism, but it is kind of like a helmet that lets them protect against fatal bites in its ecosystem, which is the Iron Feast in the northeast corner of the Dravanian Forelands. I believe that's the right zone. There's a lot of very vicious fish in that fishing hole, notably some that even eat Lalafell. So this guy kind of wears a helmet just to make sure that he doesn't get his head chomped off.
Is that where the vegetarian is?
No.
Okay.
But we will get to the vegetarian.
That's the one fish that I remember from FanFest, that whole epic naming process.
Yes, that is a favorite, but no, not the vegetarian. The orange ones that stand out here, those are marble Oscars. And the glowing one is in fact actually bioluminescent, and that is armorfish. Call it in the Phallic River outside of the Great Goobel Library.
Oh, is that the little one?
Yeah, the little one. It's based on a pinecone fish, which are notably not bioluminescent. There's almost enough bioluminescent fish that we have almost considered making a bioluminescent fish room.
I support this. I think that is a fantastic idea.
And then last but not least, I would be remiss if I didn't point out another fan favorite, the fish moogles.
Now,
these guys came about because there wasn't enough fish to fill out the entire room, and we had already done plenty of duplicates, and Pandoris, who is the creator of this room, was like, can I just fill it with moogles? And I looked and I go, yeah, okay. And they've stuck. So those guys are permanently here.
You know what? I think it's possible. One day we're going to be exploring some new region and we will find the fish moogles. And they'll talk about their cousins out here in Dravania.
Alright, Dravania room 2.
Oh, wow. This is definitely a different feel from the other rooms.
Yeah, so this, originally a lot of the Dravanian rooms kind of all had a similar aesthetic, which was by design. And I just realized he put the Enigma partition in here. We were at a fishing event one time right before the DC travel opened, and I was like, oh, what happens if you redid your room into Alexander? And everyone was like, oh, that's a great idea. And within a few hours threw this together. And so now they took their all the way up through Heaven's Ward to be able to get the full Alexander soundtrack. And it's a nice change of pace from the rest of the rooms.
I dig it. I like it a lot. That partition makes it.
Yeah, that was added in 6.2, and it's like, this is like, we saw that, we're like, this is the perfect thing for this room, so I'm glad that they were able to put that in. I didn't notice the first time that I've seen it, because I haven't been back in this room since the patch. A couple of other, though, fish-wise, you see the dragon heads again. You get a couple of Wilhelm catfish, and the white fish, the kind of flowy white fish with it is Noontide Oscar.
Okay. Very pretty.
So, moving on then to room 12. We are just about halfway through. So the fish of Gyr Abania is kind of a bit of a different type of... We start seeing a little bit more uniqueness in the fish species once you enter into kind of the Gyr Abania regions. You'll see the cardinal fish, which is the black and white striped one here.
I like that one a lot. And the detail is really amazing on these models.
Yeah, that's based off a real-life Bagnai cardinal fish, which are notably much smaller than this. That's a very large cardinal fish. The big fish version of this, though, is called the Archbishop. And if you desynth it, it has a chance to drop a Cane of the Round, the White Mage rod.
Okay.
So a little bit of fun, a fun thing that they did with that is giving the Archbishop a Cane of the Round. In Stormblood, no less. The little plump dudes down there too. There's like 3 or 4 of them in this whole room. Is rockfish. Those are another fan favorite. And then finally, this is the legendary fish Xenacanthus. And if you see or hear of a fish that ends in Canthus, so Canthus, in Final Fantasy XIV, it is based on a real-life prehistoric fish. So in this case, the Xenacanthus was a prehistoric fish. It did have the horns, though I think it might have only had one. There's still some debate on that. And the scholars in-game don't actually know why it has horns. This is also one of the fish that has some of the highest slip rates when catching. So all fish have when it bites, it has a chance to actually hook. And that varies depending on the big fish. And for the big and legendary fish specifically, it will be set. It isn't affected by your gathering. So Xenacanthus has one of the highest slip rates that you can have, despite, you can be in 90 gear, it's a level 70 fish. You can be in full 90 gear. It will get away from you, straight up.
So you need to have a lot of patience.
You have to have a lot of patience. Fortunately, it's up daily, Eorzean daily, so once every hour. Alright, moving on to room 13, and we start back into more of the Stormblood. I mean, Gyr Abania was Stormblood, but this is kind of one of the more defining zones of Stormblood would be Kugane and the Hingashi region. We start seeing a lot more tropical fish. The Ruby Sea is the zone that has the largest amount of water on the surface. And so also brings with it a bunch of diversity. So the Kugane Canals has the only seahorse that we can put into a aquarium. And one of the few seahorses in the game. I say few, but there's still 10 or 12. It's called Hananatsu, and you can catch it in the Kugane Canals. It's pretty rare to catch.
That's beautiful. I love the look of the interior of the tank.
Yeah, so Beans Wiki is the owner of this, and she did a big overhaul of this just after the DC travel opened up and turned it into a bit of a Kugane marketplace kind of look. Because that's where a good chunk of these fish come from. With the exception of this guy right here. This is Shrieker. This is considered the most terrifying looking fish in the entire game. That said, it's useful.
How is it useful?
It will, much like Sweet Note that I mentioned at the start of the tour, it will drop waterproof cotton cloth. And it is the only fish that is always up that will drop that when desynthed. So if you are, in Stormblood and you're looking for a way to make money and you only just happen to have a fisher, give these guys a shot and desynth them.
I don't find it to be the scariest, but I think the fact that it doesn't have eyes is a little unnerving.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's weird. The Ruby Sea does bring about a lot of very unique and tropical fish. Even though it's not really tropical, but it is more saltwater, and usually the saltwater has a lot more diversity to it. And we'll head into room 14, which is specifically fish from the Ruby Sea. Now, you were mentioning the vegetarian earlier. And the vegetarian does not go into an aquarium. It is in fact the print above this room, above this tank. This, though, is a Leopleurodon, which is the same species as the vegetarian, so we kind of fudged a little bit.
Another prehistoric fish, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah. This one, for those who don't know and are maybe curious as to why this fish is roped off, the vegetarian is kind of the Lalafellian eating fish. The description for this was written during the 2017 FanFest, as you were mentioning, Penelope. And it is not the only fish that eats Lalafell. There is about 11 or 12 different species of fish that, in their fish lore, will eat Lalafell. It is called out, like, it will see a Lalafell and go into a rage and try and attack it. Or it will just eat Lalafell. Or remains of Lalafell have been found in this fish. So
most of them are found via ocean fishing, just so you know.
Yes. So you'll have that. So this one's roped off as a bit of a joke to prevent people from getting, more specifically, to prevent Lalafell from enraging and potentially getting eaten.
So is there a sign out front that says, any lost Lalafell, we are not held responsible?
There is a message that floats around in the message books that I believe the owner keeps. Yeah, so if you look on page 4 of the message book, at the very bottom, it will say kind of the warning tied to that.
Oh, I have to read this. Hold on. Caution. As an additional precaution following the incident, in quotes, all Lalafell must remain at least 3 yalms away from the Leopleurodon tank. Caution. Vegetarian bait. The name Ozo really kind of helps.
Yeah, V, who is the creator of the room, was like, I want this room specifically because I am going to make this character name specifically to make this joke. And I'm like, okay.
Yes, I think that was a really good choice. I like it.
So it's those little details. A lot of the names, if you look at some of the names in the rooms, they are like fish themed. The Shroud room is created by a character whose alt name is Mama Pancake, which is a reference to the mother of all pancakes, which is a pancake octopus that you can catch in the Tempest.
Oh, I love this fish.
Yes, so this is the Warden of the Seven Hues. This room is 100% devoted to Prism Lake, which is where the Seven Hues is caught, and I think all but white goldfish and yellow goldfish. Yeah, yellow prismfish and white prismfish are the only 2 prismfish from Prism Lake that cannot be put into an aquarium, but I suspect that one day they will be.
Oh my goodness, so many colors. I will stop interrupting, I promise.
No, it's fine. This one, this room is, like, after the first 2 days, maybe the second or third most popular.
And somebody was saying that the prism fish are named after Sailor Moon characters. That's incredible. I see the Sailor Moon altar over here too. Okay.
If that's the case, I'm just learning that. So thanks, staff, for keeping me in the loop. Glaring at you through the internet.
I'm sorry.
Not you. No, it's not you.
They're saying you're welcome, Brady.
Yeah, there is a running list of names that kind of have been adopted for all of the fish, and I just did not do my due diligence and look at that list.
Oh, no, it's okay.
So, all right, we're going to move on to room 16. So we're on the second page now. Almost there.
Home stretch.
So these are the fish of Yanxia. So it's everything else in Yanxia, and besides Prism Lake. So we have Yanxia, And Prism Lake are 2 separate rooms because we decided to give Prism Lake its own. A few extra little bioluminescent fish here. The cherub and the cherub fish, I believe, are the white ones. The seraphim is the yellow one.
Oh, those are really pretty.
Based on angel fish, so if you want to play with, the words there, you can take that.
Yep.
The notable fish here is this guy, who kind of looks like a weird, very worried bottlenose dolphin. This is actually an ichthyosaur. And is a spearfish in the one river in Yanxia.
I love the markings.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job with most of these fish. Some of the larger fish, I think, are some of the larger fish have some texturing. The texturing gets a little low res. So it's a little hit and miss in some places, but overall I think they really do well with the fish. Right, so welcome to the Azim Steppe room. The Azim Steppe room, based around nomads' yurts, so kind of mole tribe yurts. You're currently looking at the grass shark, which is the smallest shark that we have on display at the aquarium. It's caught under the Dawn Throne. And looks more like a dolphin than a shark, but we know that it's not a dolphin because it's named a shark. But also dolphins have horizontal tails, whereas sharks have vertical tails.
Okay. I did not know that. I learned something.
He's just really happy.
He does look really happy. It makes me smile to look at him, too.
And then the fish tank across the way is filled with unconditionals. Unconditional is a legendary fish caught in the pond south of Dor Ilo, which is around the little village that Sadu is from. I can't remember the name of their tribe. But the deep blue clothing one. It is called unconditional. However, it is extremely... how do I put this? It has extremely specific conditions to catch. It can go down for days at a time between you can catch it, and you only have 30 in-game minutes to catch.
And you got 4 of them.
Yeah, so the trade-off with this was if we were going to be catching these in Stormblood, it would have been a pain. This would be far more impressive. But in Shadowbringers, they had a skill called Surface Slap, which allows you to catch a fish, and then you use the skill Surface Slap, and it removes that fish from the pool of fish that you can potentially catch until you successfully catch another fish. Fortunately, with the unconditional, it only has one other fish on the bait that it is used to be caught with. So what you do is you go through, you catch the fish, the other fish, slap it, and then you are guaranteed to get an unconditional bite as soon as you cast back out during the window. So it does slip a lot, so you can get consistent bites. You can probably get 10, 12 bites in the 90-second window, but you will almost likely only reel in one successfully because it's very slippery.
Okay. Still pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bunch of legendary fish, and I consider the unconditional a very, very good aquarium fish. And then the rest here are just kind of other fish that you'll find around the Azim Steppe. A couple of catfish, a couple of guppies.
I like the ones with the star markings around their eye. It reminds me of David Bowie.
Yes. That is a Dusk Herald.
Okay.
Based on a loach. And I believe there is another fish that has a very similar markings called a clown loach. For that reason. Because it kind of looks like a clown. Right. Which room are we on now? All right, so we are out of Stormblood. We're going to be moving into Shadowbringers. Specifically Norvrandt. And the Norvrandt saltwater. So most of the saltwater fish are going to be coming out of either Clusia or the Tempest. And there's two notable fish in this room. One is to your left, right, kind of right in front of you, and that is the robotic fish known as the Quamaton. It is a fish built by the dwarves that was originally meant to be used for underwater resource collection, but as soon as they put it into the water, it ran away like an extremely happy puppy. Never to be seen again, until you catch it. The weird thing about this is it's supposed to be like up to 6 feet long, and you'll look at that and like that's no way it's 6 feet long.
No.
It's considered a medium-sized fish despite being so large. But it's a big fan favorite.
I was gonna say maybe it's 6 feet to a dwarf.
That's a good point. I hadn't considered that. That's a good. You're right. That's a good point. I hadn't considered that. So we have Quamaton, who was added in 6.2. It is also the first and only. It is the first and only inorganic fish that can be put into an aquarium. And then across the way is lancet fish. Also, this guy is caught in the Tempest. He is just a very long and derpy-looking fish. But if you are going for big fishing, you may hear the term lancet jail or tempest jail. This is the fish that name comes from.
Okay. And it indeed does look like a lance.
It's based on a real life fish too. So like if you just Google lancet fish, you will see basically that, but in high resolution and a much more menacing jaw. And the rest of the room is sharks, which
somebody was saying in chat, if you give a lancet fish a soul crystal, he'll become a dragoon fish.
Oh, apparently the lancet fish. That I did know that the lancet fish was named Terrence. That I did know.
Okay.
But due to the number of sharks, the creator of the room decided to base this around Amarat.
Okay.
And so, hence the music and the name, and the tiling.
I like it. It's nice. I could chill out here for a while.
A lot of these rooms are pretty chill, I guess. Maybe with the exception of the Alexander room. They're pretty chill.
That one's very high energy, yes.
Yes. Right, so now we're going to be looking at the fish of Lakeland and the Crystarium. The Crystarium, despite looking landlocked, actually has 3 major fishing holes in it. So if you're ever out at the bar, or near the Pendants, which is the inn, or in the Trivium, which is the underground greenhouse, those are all different fishing holes that you can fish in, and the fish from that are displayed in here.
Okay.
Notably, the one from the Crystarium, though, where are you? Right here. The little guy on the bottom. That's a loose pendant. It's up daily, and it's a pretty easy catch and sells for pretty good money. So if anyone's looking for some quick money, it's slow, but they've sold pretty well for me.
Fruity is giving quality money-making tips here while we're in
I always try, and well, it's kind of the fish markets, at least on Marlborough here, are pretty weak. So it's kind of like, oh, I'm going to get bored. I'll go catch like 10 of a single fish and then just crash the market as just a pastime. But there are so many fish in the game that it's really hard to overlap with other people. If you do your due diligence and like your research, you'll find fish that you'll be able to sell. And then this big guy here is the Vice Jaw. Very terrifying looking. He is caught in the Source, which is the name of the body of water, not the source, but the source, the water, not source, the plane of existence. And he's caught off of the Isle of Ken.
Yeah, that is... I think this is probably one of the scarier fish. That jaw
yes,
is
yeah.
pretty
So,
fine.
Diniacthus, Shrieker, and Vice Jaw are kind of like the three horror fish. So moving on, we have the rest of Norvrandt here. With a lot of the Endwalker, a lot of the Shadowbringers fish, they kind of became hit and miss after the Crystarium in terms of rooms, so we kind of had to mix and match some of these. So we have just the Fish of Norvrandt, which is fish from Kalusia, Ilmeg, and Raktika. Raktika is here on the right, the eastern side, and then Kalusia and Ilmeg on the western. See another Arapaima. This is Ampus handmade. A lot of fish in the source, and this is something that I'm trying to figure out if they explain in game, are albino. They're all white. You'll notice Ampus handmade here, and then diagonally across this is Little Bismarck. He's just very happy that he has a horn.
Okay.
That among many others, especially focused around Lakeland, they're all white, and they don't really give any indication why. Our speculation that is just due to the excessive amount of light. They eventually kind of became charged in that sense, but they aren't sin eaters. It's kind of weird. But just know that, like, you see a couple of these white fish, and those are just a tiny amount of a ton that actually exist in the game. Specifically in Norvrandt.
Okay, yeah, I like that it... Now, is the fish actually called Little Bismarck?
Yep.
Okay.
That's not a nickname. It is actually called Little Bismarck.
I thought for a minute there was a nickname. I'm like, that's a pretty clever nickname. But, yeah.
No, I believe it is... I think that one is specifically a spearfish, too. I'm running through my log. Yeah, there you are. Yeah, so the description for it reads, "Long has the legend of Bismarck, the great spirit of the water, been passed down among the peoples of the source. This fish is named for the single sharp horn it shares with its fabular brother. Though its purpose is unknown, the wavekin hunts with its teeth alone."
Alright.
So, take that as you wish. A lot of the lore in this for fish provides small but very insightful views into different aspects of the game. For example, the thing that I've kind of became known for is what did the fall of Dalamud, how did the fall of Dalamud impact the trout population? And the answer is quite greatly, because it is in the game's lore, in the fish's description, that the warm water trout actually migrated from northern Noscea, where it was, to Thanalan, based on the residuals of the fall of Dalamud.
Huh. That's interesting. That's really interesting.
It gets the fish lore stuff starts getting really wild when you stare at fish a little bit too long.
I'm gonna have a very important question later, but I'll wait until after the tour.
Okay. So, Fish of Ilmeg, and this will... Fish of Ilmeg is technically the last of the opening day rooms. This one is all of the fish from Ilmeg. Well, not all of the fish from Ilmeg, all the aquarium fish that can come from Ilmeg. And the designer of the room was like, the pixies are really wild and whimsy, so just really leaned into it.
Hence the bathtub.
Hence the bathtub, the random food bits, the dancing, like, little onions. And then these dolls here, the Calcabrina dolls, there's the blue one on the table and the red ones. Every time the owner of the room comes in, she moves them to make it even creepier. So every time you come in, the dolls will probably be in a different place.
Namazu, I see you. In the basket.
Yes, that was one of the Namazu. Alright, so moving now into the Fish of Thavnair. So this would be the start of the Endwalker fish. This was opened the night that we launched, but it wasn't until a few hours later. And we made the grave mistake. We made the grave mistake of announcing it being open to our lobby, which had a few hundred people in it at the time. And yeah, that got pretty wild. So anyways, Fish of Thavnair. Thavnair is the only region from Endwalker so far, between 6.1 and 6.2, that has enough fish to warrant its own room. So you see a lot of the fish that you saw in the basement. Again, see the flower horn. That is a long-eared sunfish, the bit of the gray one. And then the Radsbellic is the blue one up at the top. I personally am a fan of that one just because it's really nice.
I was actually going to say, I think that is one of my favorite. I love the colors in that, the red and the blue.
Yep, and then this guy up here at the top, that is the Tebiek Smelt. That is the first, and so far only, Spearfisher's Intuition fish, which is a new mechanic that they added in Endwalker, specifically for the spearfishing overhaul. It is, in my opinion, probably the most fun, if not the second most fun fish to go after.
What's the spotted fish?
That is Fate's Design. That's caught off the Thavnairian coast.
Okay.
And then the large one is Roosterfish, for, kind of the large
Makes
roostery.
Sense, yeah.
And then the big guy behind us is Basilosaurus, another prehistoric. The fun fact for this one is I believe I have the world's first catch on this one. That's my personal claim to fame.
Did you get a notification for that?
No. We keep track mostly through viewing, and we'll move on to room 23. When fish are added, we don't know anything about them. We just kind of know where they are, but we don't know what bait, we don't know what time conditions, we don't know what weather conditions are required to catch them.
Okay.
And so we have to go explore, basically. We just constantly just start fishing. Hundreds of fishers come down, descend upon the waters, and just fish for hours on end to find out where these fish might be.
I'm just imagining like a
we
line
just keep track
of
of it.
fishers, yeah, like just like lined up along the coast.
And so anyways, I made it a point when Endwalker dropped, I spent a lot of time fishing. Like I got to 90 fisher within 4 hours of the game, of like the game opening. And so I was probably one of the first people to get 90 fisher, which came in handy because you could sneak around everywhere and nothing would bug you. And so basically I was helping find where all the fish were whenever they came up. Anyways, so this is our touch tank. This was added a week after we opened by popular demand. And we wanted something a little different. A lot of people were asking, is there a touch tank? And so we designed this really quickly to kind of simulate an interactive exhibit that you could have that you might see at an actual aquarium.
Yeah, I remember seeing screenshots of this and thinking that it reminded me a lot of what I would see at the local aquarium.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's even a spot up here. Nice.
Yes, it's also like technically the first multi-level exhibit that we have. That was one of the big design features that I wanted to include in it, would be a place that people could kind of like move and climb around in. Really turn it into a bit of a play place. We encourage people to go into the water and just splash around. And we just put a variety of different fish into like these tanks. And with all of the rooms like this, so like the special exhibits, we really tie a narrative story to all of them. So this one was, the satrap of Thavnair, Vritra, was like, all right, things are done. I really want my people to be a bit more open to the rest of the world. So he commissioned this to be made inside the palace at Razadhan. And that's kind of the story that we said to do this. And that's how we design a lot of these special exhibits, is based around these narrative stories, to try and keep them as lore friendly as possible.
I like it.
And no touch tank would be complete without a sink.
Of course. Good hygiene is important.
Yes. Alright, so last few rooms here. The Shark Encounter. Is that the next room? Yeah. So Shark Encounter was our second special exhibit that we added. And this is kind of our first foray into teaching about the ecology and like the marine biology of Eorzea. So you get the big shark cage, which is kind of the center point. A lot of people are also doing a lot of G-posing, so we thought, let's try and make a bit of a G-pose scene. So we have the shark tank, or the shark cage. And then this wall here, the big blue wall, has 3 different predatorial sharks found around Noscea, and underneath them are prints of fish that they would be eating. So you kind of have a bit of an idea of their diet.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's like really intricate arrangement there. A lot of
so
that.
We brought the pog shark back to show that it didn't just eat Lalafell, but it also ate kelp, jellyfish, and chocobos. That is lore friendly. It legitimately does eat chocobo. This is Lone Ripper, and it eats, herrings, and because hammerheads, we had to take a little bit of liberty on this, and because they don't fully explain what all the species eat, but we're like, all right, well, hammerheads aren't purely carnivorous, or they are not purely pescatarian, so they don't eat just fish. They'll eat sea slugs as well, sea cucumbers and stuff like that. And then Tomra fish, which is just a straight up fierce predator and will eat fish. And finally, the last layer is, if you'll see, they have a chess piece next to all of them. So red, cyan, and yellow. And if you look at the map, you can see that is where all of them are from.
Okay. It shows you exactly where they're from. Oh, sorry, I'm being a heathen and I'm stepping on the table.
Oh, it's fine. That's a wonderful thing that I like about having a virtual aquarium, is that if you're like, I'm going to step on this table, like, I don't care, you're not going to scuff it up. And so this is kind of our first attempt at like an educational exhibit. And I hope we will be doing another one probably early next year. That'll be an educational exhibit.
I like it.
And this is based around Charlian scholars who wanted to come and research the predatorial fish around Noscea. Alright, so last room would be the Fish of Endwalker. This is a standard room. And we needed a place to put all the Endwalker fish, but there's like one Garlemald fish, one Elpis fish, not enough to really make a room out of it. So we just temporarily made this one, which will probably later become an old Charlian Labyrinthos room. But it's just now Endwalker fish. So you get all of the Endwalker fish that have been released in the rooms.
Okay.
The puffer guys, these guys are kind of a new and upcoming favorite. They're dog-faced puffers, and they're just adorable.
They are super cute, yeah.
Yeah, you can see the Aether Electric Guitar fish again with some more puffers. And then back here, you'll see my personal favorite fish, which is a dark crown, the black beta, swimming along the top there. These are from Garlemald. They're in the moat around the Imperial Palace. And the story for them is that they were actually given as gifts to Imperials as a way to gain favor. If you had the better looking dark crown, you had more favor with the Imperials. So noble families of Garlemald would give these as gifts.
Okay. Yeah, that one is beautiful.
And that is the Eorzean Aquarium as it stands now. We have another exhibit that should be getting built here before the end of the year. Another one that we're starting at the beginning of next year, and then I think 2 or 3 more in the works. So we have like 5 more exhibits planned out in the next probably 6 months, not counting patch.
Yeah, and I know that you sped run through the explanation, but that was still a lot. Wow, that was a lot of information, but super enjoyable. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
I'm pretty sure everyone else enjoyed it quite a bit. I know a couple people were super excited about the shark cage as soon as you said G-pose room.
Yes, so that was something that I know that we noticed that we had a lot of people doing, was like just G-posing around. Like, oh, let's make a scene for that. So that'll be something that we'll consider. We've learned a lot since we first launched.
Oh yeah.
And so we'll be adding more as we can. Oh! There's the
bookcases move. That is
so
cool.
If we head back out, the last stop of every tour at a museum is the gift shop, which is just full of merchandise. You don't need to actually go and buy anything. But I do want to point out that we have an account. We have a character, sorry. One of the volunteers' job is to just maintain this gift shop. They made a character named Eorzean Aquarium and then crafts everything on that account.
That's
on that
really
character.
Cool.
So when you buy something, you buy a shirt, it will say Eorzean Aquarium on it. So it's effectively kind of branded.
That is really smart.
Yep. So we do that at this one, and we'll do that at the. I think all of the Eorzean Aquariums will have that.
Okay.
Spriggan, the Spriggan one I know does. Sophia, I believe, is getting that one started.
Okay.
But that's here the Eorzean Aquarium here on Crystal, at least the abridged version. I could probably talk for another 4 hours about fish, but I will not.
I would be inclined to let you, but I don't want to take up your entire day. I thank you so much for taking this time out. So I do have a question that I was thinking of as we were going through, and you mentioned some of the fish requests. And for anybody who has not done the delivery quests in Charlayan, cover your ears really quick. So I don't want to spoil this for anybody. So spoiler alert.
I have to think about what are you about to ask me about this fish? So I know all the fish that came out of that one.
It's not about a specific fish.
Okay.
So it's about the one quest in the Studium with the fishers. And they talk about like how fishing somehow is related to time travel. I'm still trying to sort that out in my head.
Okay,
so number one, can you explain that to me? How does that work?
Yeah, so the story of the College of Aetherology, which is the Fisher job quest for the Studium. You go with Talaquatia or Laquatia. Sorry, Nikos. And he is studying the etherical movements of in like oceans, basically, and he's using that because he can measure it in fish. Think of it akin to like a chemical in the ocean that you can kind of measure from just by like looking at like the blood of a fish.
Okay.
And so you go around to find those fish to give him that information. And he's like, all right, well, I'd like to get a fish. Just give me a baseline fish. Just give me this basic fish over in Labyrinthos, a giant aetherless. And then you start going. You basically get a fish from each room or each zone. And so you eventually go to the moon, where you get the lunar lamenter at the very end. But in the middle there, he goes, man, I don't have like a baseline for original fish, like ancient fish. He wanted an ancient fish, and you just happen to, like, the way that it's unlocked, you just happen to have gotten back from Elpis.
Happened to,
and you go, oh, I can get that for you. Don't worry about it. Like, I think that might be like the exact line too.
Nice.
And you go, yeah, don't worry about it. I can do that. He goes, what? And he goes, yeah, I'll be right back. Then you go to Elpis, you catch a bunch of these fish, and then you come back and you give it to him, and he goes, I have no idea. How did you do this? What is this going on? This is so wild. Then his professor comes in and he goes, yeah, the secret to time, like, we knew that we could have gone back to Elpis for a while, but it's a deeply guarded, like, faculty secret, and they just kind of retconned it in. So that's how the time travel is associated with that, is it's revealed that you didn't actually do anything that the Charleans didn't already know.
I think I remember reading through that quest text. I'm like, so are they implying that Charlene fishermen invented time travel?
No.
I've heard about the whole river of time, like, saying, but it's like I never thought that was literal.
No. They basically, if you don't want the impressiveness of the Crystal Tower from the source to be undermined, like, they had this big narrative plot, like, building up, like, oh yeah, this is the Crystal Tower, you have Elidibus, be able to go back in time with Elidibus, blah 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 blah, like, you have all that. And then the faculty comes in and he goes, yeah, we knew about that already. Just completely undermines that whole, like, massive narrative build up. So don't do the Fisher quest if you don't want that ruined.
Yeah. At that point, like, I imagine the Warrior of Light just, like, dropping their head and being like, "Aww."
Yeah, so that's how that's tied together. Overall, though, that's actually a very fun quest line.
Oh, I had a lot of fun with it, but I still admit that I sat there for a few minutes trying to wrap my mind around it. Like, I mean, I read all of this, but I don't get it. I feel like I'm missing something. So thank you for reviewing that. So before we wrap up your time, because unfortunately we cannot keep fruity snacks forever.
Though some have tried.
Yes, some may have tried. Do you have any special events coming up?
So we actually don't. We had an art party last night. But we're actually done with events for the rest of the year. But I will say, if you follow me on Twitter at FisherFruity, next week our next event will be announced.
Okay.
I'll just say that because it's something that we've been working on for 3+ months now, and it won't be happening until next year. So it's gonna be a big one.
Do we get any, like, hints or anything like that?
Take everything we've done in the past 6 months, and we do it again at lightning speed.
My
just
eyes
condense
got,
it
like,
down.
a little big, like, wow. That
It's
sounds crazy.
It is something that if you were at LunarCon, a lot of people were joking about because there were so many fish panels at LunarCon.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that was our fault. Some people were joking about the fact that there were so many fish panels at LunarCon, and jokes on them, we'd actually already been planning what they've been joking about for a while. So, but that'll come out this week. That'll be announced hopefully this week. Most likely this week.
I'm really curious, and I can't wait to share it with everybody else in our community. I'm looking forward to it already. All right, so that was the Eorzean Aquarium. Some people were also asking in chat, a lot of people in our community who are Final Fantasy XIV players are also our peers, so they were asking if there were IC tours. And I think that some of them said that yes, if they are available, they will do that. Is there anything else before we end that you think that people should know about the Eorzean Aquarium?
Yeah, if you want to come and RP, that's fine. We don't advertise an RP venue, but we also don't shun it. You're welcome to come in character or out of character. If you want to do a tour that's in character, just let me know, and I'll see if I can get some folks for you. Beyond that, we're open 24/7. We don't have a fee to get in. We are a resource for the community, and so we don't take any sort of like entry fee or anything like that. We do take donations though, but they're not required. Like seriously, you don't need to donate. But yeah, that's about it.
So if people do want to support though, who should they get in contact with? Should they get in contact with you? And what can they do to support?
If you want to like say in-game financially support, anyone who's tagged as a staff, so they have like the staff tag around them, you can give guild donations or item donations to them. Usually around patch days, we're always looking for the new aquarium fish, especially if it's rare. Like a Quamaton is a legendary fish, it's rather rare. That one was a donation. And if you have any other things that you think you might want to support us with, just let me know on Twitter. And there's a retainer outside that's dressed as my old... There's a retainer outside that's me, quote unquote. And you can just trade with that. We have a bunch of different fish that you can buy at different levels of donation, and you can just buy those, and all the money goes straight to the aquarium.
Okay, awesome. And I am going to link really quickly here the Eorzean Aquarium's website, which has a lot of the information that we talked about today, as well as more. Here we go, and screenshots of some of the other aquariums. So consider visiting all of those. Check out Fruity on Twitter, follow, check out their YouTube. And if you see, I believe that we have a lot of Eorzean Aquarium staff members in chat right now. I know that it takes probably the whole team of you to make this work. So thank you, all of you. I really appreciate all of you. I appreciate you coming to the stream. All of you who decorated the rooms, did all of the effort to make this happen. It is super impressive. I love it. I think everybody else is absolutely in love with this as well. So thank you so much for being such a positive light and benefit to the community.
And thank you for showing interest in spending 2 hours listening to me ramble about fish.
Oh yeah, no, this is
really appreciate it.
This is definitely like my jam. Not necessarily fishing, but I love learning. So anytime that you guys add something new, let me know and we'll be back. It's like, okay, so we'd like to spend a half hour or so talking about the new stuff that you put in. So, thank you for the sparkles. I even get Major General running around me. So, okay, we are going to take a little bit of a break so that way we can let Fruity Snacks kind of get on their way. I'm going to take a break to stretch, get some more water, maybe get a quick snack. I encourage all of you all to do so as well. Make sure that you stretch. It's really good for your health. Make sure you hydrate, all of that good stuff. We will be back in about 5 minutes or so. And who knows, maybe I'll actually try to tank with actual people this time instead of just NPCs. You were talking about Extra Life earlier, Fruity, and I did an Extra Life challenge myself that if my community raised $500 for Extra Life, I would learn how to tank. I have serious anxiety.
I have been tanking since I started playing the game. No pun intended. Tank is my main. And I can fully respect anxiety though, because it is. Bump my mic. It is definitely a rough thing. So kudos to you for giving that a shot.
I started with Gunbreaker last session, and actually, once I kind of started practicing and having like the NPC training wheels, as I like to look at it, really does help before you're exposed then to other people, because I think that's like, at least for me, that's the anxiety. Like if I mess up, and as people do when they're learning, I'm like really afraid that, you know, I'm gonna get like angry people like, what are you doing? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? So this kind of helps with that. So, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take a 5-minute break. Everybody, last minute, say thank you for D-Snacks and the Eorzean Aquarium staff. Thank you so much. Yay. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and take that break. I will see you back shortly.